Today, we're going to talk about smart negative targeting in your campaigns. I'm going to uncover my part of the negative targeting strategy that you can utilize to improve your profitability. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sergey. I've been managing Amazon ads for the last 7 years, and currently I manage $1 million in ad spend every month. Today, guys, I'm going to give you a really short presentation. It could be really powerful if you apply it smart in your account. This is about keeping your search terms under control, optimization of the PPC account, like a flow. You start with the search terms, then you work with bids, and then maybe you work with targets, like pausing them. After you created new campaigns or took over an account to manage and you're thinking, what should I do first? There are some, obvious things like pause campaigns without orders and tons of spend, right? Like realign the structure to make everything separated. Search term optimization is really, really important topic to discuss. It's really important to keep your search terms separated into different campaigns. And a lot of people think about it like, I will put my phrases in this campaign, my broads in that campaign, take top 5 of my major competitors and I put them into that campaign, right? And everything will flow in its own direction. And because I created different campaigns, it should be fine, right? No, it shouldn't be fine. Every year, Amazon does changes to how the match types work. In the past, broad match was using only words that were in the keyword, right? It couldn't populate on the search terms that didn't include the word from the keyword. Right now, it's just a common practice, right? Broad match is generally an automatic campaign now. With my team, we see more and more of that happening, and therefore search term optimization becomes much more important right now to keep all of your search terms under control. A lot of times I see a campaign with like 5 keywords, and then I open up underlying search terms and there are like 1,500 different search terms. It's a big issue. I think in some campaigns, you probably want to have as many search terms harvested as possible. But then the question is like, how do you control it, right? Did you intend this campaign to have that many search terms? Do you have the search terms that you know historically don't convert and you still have them? Do you have some search terms that you have in another campaign and then maybe in another campaign and then in the campaign that you created 2 years ago for Prime Day? We all know how it happens. Controlling your search terms with negative targeting is absolutely crucial thing in 2024. My 2 biggest examples here are where I've been really struggling for the last couple of years before I started doing the strategy is ASIN targeting, right? It can also be applied to broader targeting campaigns like phrase, broad, automatic category. But I think a lot of people don't really talk about the search terms in the ASIN targeting campaigns. Because let's say you have this competitor, right? And they are very similar to yours. You are changing the subcategory. So you're really competing, right? And you want to take advantage of the ASIN targeting campaign and you take that ASIN, you launch it in the exact match for ASIN targeting, not that expanded way, as you know, the new one, but the old one. And you create this campaign, and then in 7 days, you check in that campaign, and the metrics looks good. You mean like ACOS is fine, you're getting a decent conversion rate. It seems like everything goes right. But if you open up the search terms, the underlying search terms for that ASIN in that campaign, you might notice that only 40% of spend was allocated to this ASIN target search term. And then the rest of the 60% was allocated to other search terms. And again, I am not saying that those other search terms are not converting or irrelevant or bad. I'm just saying that you wanted to have traffic on that ASIN specifically, right? So why would you want only 40% of the budget spent on that ASIN and then the 60% somewhere else? And what most important here is that you don't control that somewhere else, right? This is basically a harvesting campaign and not a direct ASIN targeting. So that's why me and my team, we came up with a bunch of rules. Some of these rules are quite common to implement in this industry, and some are not, I think. So I'm just going to go one by one and quickly explain each of them. And then I think you will have a clear understanding of what I'm talking today about. So first of all, we keep the list of all the single keyword targets that we have in the account, right? So it's a separate list in the Google Doc where we just tag them for all of the product groups. And when we create any new campaign, like let's say phrase campaign, broad campaign, automatic campaign, category campaign, gold pending campaign, whatever it is, we add those single keyword targets into negative exacts from the start, right? So what it means is that we're eliminating these search terms in our harvesting campaign. So in harvesting campaign, I want to see new terms. I don't want to see terms that I know working and I have an exact campaign, right? So this is rule number one. The second rule is what we have right now. It depends on the account by account. In some accounts, we do it every 7 days. In some accounts, we do it every 14 days. But that's about negativing zero order search terms, no, every period, right? We're looking at all non-exact campaigns, like, as I said, all these broader targeting campaigns, and we're just cleaning those up, right? What we're using is this so-called CPA model, where we look at the average cost per acquisition for this product group. We add about 50 to 100% on top of that, and everything that's spent more than that, we're negative every 7 days or every 14 days, right? So this is rule number 2. Rule number 3 here is to negate and promote into exacts high ACOS terms, right? So you might have a broad match keyword. It generates a lot of different search terms, and most of those search terms are with higher ACOS. You don't want to decrease bid for that keyword, right? Because you don't control search terms by bid. First thing you need to do, clean up all the search terms you know are not working or working with higher ACOS, and only then you might start thinking about the bid, because bid is not the problem in that case. The search terms are the problem. If we have, let's say, target ACOS of 50, but we have a tons of search terms from 50 to 150, what I usually do, I just take all those search terms, I create the new single keyword campaigns, and I push the search terms again, right? And we negative those search terms in the original campaign, and we are first cleaning up the search terms and making that campaign and that keyword more profitable. And secondly, we're testing new search terms with its own bid in exact match. All right. Thing number 4 here is to use master list of all the keywords for ASIN campaigns where we want to push ads for that specific ASIN. So one of the examples I used in the previous slide, that ASIN targeting for the competitor. And once we launched that, we saw that 60% of traffic went to those search terms. So this is the step where I'm exactly eliminating that issue, right? So I'm taking all of the broader like keywords that I have in this niche. Obviously, we have it on the Google Doc for that specific product group. When we create an ASIN campaign that should channel the traffic to a specific ASIN product page, we're just adding those keywords. It might be 100 keywords, it might be 300 keywords, it might be 500 keywords. It doesn't matter. We just need to clean it up from the start as much as we can. The second list of keywords is historically not working. This is a little bit of tricky one. We need more date ranges in order to understand that search term is not working for us historically, so we can start using the negative campaigns. We try to gather at least one data set of 120 days plus of data, and there we start to look at which search terms on a historical basis across many different campaigns never produced an order, or let's say produced one order from 10,000 clicks or 1,000 clicks, whatever you have, right? So this is like a second list. You can't really have this list from the start. You will need some data, but the more data you have, the more reasons to have that master list of keywords as well. And the last one on this list is negative existing ASINs in harvesting campaigns, right? So let's say you have launched a campaign where you have an ASIN target, right? Just like I described with my competitor example before. And this ASIN target can trigger a lot of other ASINs that you don't want to have in your search terms. So for this reason, we're using the existing ASINs to negative them in our harvesting campaigns. So those ASINs will not show up in our search terms in that specific campaign. To summarize, guys, we have this multiple rules where we do some regular basis activities like zero orders from all the campaigns, negate and promote high ACOS, negate and promote good performing campaigns and stuff like that. But overall, we have two master lists usually, one for generic keywords to narrow traffic to the ASIN, And the second with ideally more than 120 days of data with 0 orders. So guys, I feel like this has been a quite in-depth video about the negative targeting that we do. Very careful and precise when you apply this strategy, because you don't want to negate something that works really good. So in a lot of accounts, I believe there is a lot of specifics that you need to apply to use this method. But I believe if you implement it right, it can improve your profits, increase your sales, and grow your rank.